Welcome to lesson 4, the one where we bust the BS with the feel good formula. This is one of the most transformative lessons in this entire Untangled journey. We're going to call bullshit on our old belief systems, all the BS on the BS, because it is bullshit that we're believing that's holding us back. So today we're diving deep into my feel good formula. This is my signature methodology for busting through limiting beliefs and stepping into the freedom and the joy that you deserve. This formula came to me one day while I was on my own journey. I feel like it was just deposited in my head by divine alignment. And since that day, I have never, ever turned back. I use this all the time. I think it's the most valuable tool you're going to learn in this program, especially if you, like me, have ever felt like you alone are what is standing in the way between the life you have now and the life you want to create. So, limiting beliefs, those quiet, insidious stories that are constantly playing in the background of our minds, are the hidden culprits that constantly steal our joy. And in this lesson, I'm sharing with you a proven way to shut them down and bust the BS wide open so that we can reprogram our minds with the truth about who we are and what we're really capable of. So, in previous lessons, you've already explored the fascinating connection. I hope you found it fascinating between our 4F fear responses, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and the limiting beliefs that might be behind them. Hopefully, you've already gained enough awareness to start uncovering some of your own BS, the belief systems that were likely formed in your subconscious mind long before you even knew how to question them. Maybe by this point, you've identified some of the BS, and maybe you even know where it came from, whether it came from your childhood experiences or your cultural conditioning, your relationships with your family and friends, or even from external influences like teachers or the media or even religion. By now, I hope you've realized that beliefs are just thoughts that you have kept on thinking that might not even be true, and that this BS has shaped your actions and reactions and the person you've become that sits here today without your consent. But today, we're learning to take back control. I'd like to introduce you to the feel good formula. So, this formula is a 7-step process designed to help you identify when limiting beliefs are at play. Name the belief and call out its BS, and then bust it wide open so that it can't plague you anymore just by proving it false. The feel good formula is a way to rewrite the old stories we've been telling ourselves, the ones that hold us back from the life we long for, and replace them with stories that are empowering, uplifting, and most of all, true. Perhaps you've heard me say that's just a story you keep telling yourself. If it's going to be a story, make it a good one. This isn't just a theory, it's actual practical application of that and everything we've talked about in previous lessons. The feel good formula is a tool you can use whenever you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unmotivated to help you feel good about any and all situations you find yourself in. With practice, this formula can become second nature to you and enable you to spot your own stinking thinking in real time and shut it down right in its tracks so that it can't stand in your way anymore of growth, opportunity, love, and connection. So, how does it work? So, we're going to start with step one. This is notice that you have some BS going on. So, in order to bust through our BS, we first have to notice what's happening. This is the hardest part, but it becomes easy after you begin to just seek the awareness to see it. We have to be aware that we have stinking thinking at play. There's actually two ways to do it. The first is, did you know that limiting beliefs usually come with a physical sensation? So we're so programmed to live in these chaotic states in our lives that most of us don't even know that we have these physical signs communicating with us about our emotions. And because we don't notice how we feel, we usually just keep going. Some super common physical sensations that we feel when we're unwittingly thinking about a limiting belief are a racing heart, a knot in your stomach, or sweaty palms, which often signal that a thought that we're having is causing us fear or anxiety. Sometimes we could get a heaviness or unease in our stomach, which is letting us know that our gut doesn't agree with our current thought. Or even we might get a tightness in our shoulders, our jaw, or our chest, which could signal that we're feeling guilt or overwhelm or anger or frustration. So we'll dive more into these physical sensations in future lessons, but for the purposes of step one to the feel good formula, all you have to know is that when you feel any kind of physical sensation, it's a sign that your body is telling you that a limiting belief is at play. And this is the moment when you have your first chance at uncovering the truth. So there are common trigger words that could indicate limiting beliefs too. That's the second way to notice that a limiting belief is at play. It's really important that we get good at being a detective around the language that we're using. These are some very common words and phrases that indicate limiting beliefs. We've talked about some of them already. I can't, I don't, right? Committing these to memory could be one of the biggest tools you're ever going to learn to turn around your negative thoughts and emotions. These phrases go pretty unnoticed because they're so deeply embedded in how we talk to our other people and to ourselves. But once we have these detective skills to notice when they're at play, we're going to be one step closer to removing them from our vocabulary altogether and changing the vibration of how we feel. So you have these list of words in your workbook or in the worksheet that came along with this lesson. But for example, words like should or always or never will signal that there is these rigid absolute thoughts that are leaving little room for possibility or growth for you. And if you see them, you know that there's a limiting belief running the show. There's also those words like I can't, or I'm not, or I don't, or I've already tried. And those words just shut down possibilities before they can even be explored. Then we have comparative beliefs like better than, or whether or not something or someone is worth it. That these kind of words feel insecure or give us shame or a lack of value, right? And then there's phrases like I've been told or a good person would or should. And these signal that there are outside expectations from somebody or something that are driving our self-image. And then there's these fatalistic phrases like if only I had, if only I was, if only I did, if only I didn't. These if onlys can trap us in this cycle of discontent, but also inaction because we're believing them to be the case at hand. We're believing that if only something else is the reason why we can't. And we feel like we're stuck because we are telling ourselves that we are that thing. So, can you feel how each of these phrases carries its own weight in keeping you tethered to those limiting beliefs? Well, by learning to recognize them, we're going to begin to untangle from that grip and feel good. So, that's step one. It's a big one. And all it really is about noticing that a limiting belief is working on our behalf. Noticing that it's running like software in the back of our head. So, either a physical sensation or picking up on a word or phrase, we can know that it's there and it's controlling the moment. And the next step is to name it so that we can start to shut it down. So, step two is name it. And maybe you've heard the term, you have to name it to tame it. And this is why that term exists. Simply naming a belief begins to loosen its grip on you. Once you've identified that a belief is at play, either through the words you use or the feeling you felt, now you can begin to get curious about why it's there. So once you have the words or the feeling, you can start to ask the next question. What thought was I just thinking that caused that feeling? Because the thought is the clue as to what's going on. This is your chance to get curious. So, in the personal growth world, curiosity about your feelings opens the doors to understanding rather than having judgment on yourself. It's not, why did I think that thing or why am I feeling this thing? It's curiosity. It's kindness and curiosity and empathy. And curiosity gets us unstuck. So, by exploring our emotions with genuine interest, we can uncover the deeper needs that our inner selves are trying to communicate with us and the beliefs behind them. This is how you create the space for healing and that growth in personal growth to happen. So, in this step two, we have to be able to name the thought or the belief and just call it what it is, a story, a bullshit belief based on thoughts we've been thinking for so long that we probably have no idea where it came from or why we think of it, or if it even applies to our lives anymore. Why do we cut the ends off of the ham? This is the example. So here's some examples of name it. Naming the thought or belief can begin to break its power over us. It's like turning the light on in a dark room. Once we can see what's there, we can choose what to do with it. So here's how curiosity can lead to clarity and growth and ultimately freedom from our limiting beliefs. Let's break it down with an example. I'm not good enough, right? So, how do we notice it? Step one, we may have a feeling. You notice a sinking feeling in your chest or a lump in your throat after hearing feedback at work, right? So, we get curious about it and we say, what thought was I just thinking that caused this feeling? And we recognize immediately that we're thinking, I'm not good enough for this job. So we name it. This is a belief that I'm not capable or worthy of this job. And we realize it's just a story we've been telling ourselves. So you recognize that this belief likely started years ago, maybe from being criticized at school or at home, but it doesn't reflect your present reality. Let's do another example. I can't start over at my age. So that you have this feeling of tightness in your shoulders and a pit in your stomach when you think about pursuing a new career that you really, really want. And then you get curious. What thought was I just thinking that caused this feeling? And you realize the thought was, I'm too old to start over. So you name it. There's a belief that starting over is impossible at my age. It's a BS belief, a story I've internalized. And we get some insight from that. You realize that this belief might have come from societal messages or past experiences, but it doesn't define what's possible for you now. Let's do one more. She's better at this than I'll ever be. Feeling is jealousy or insecurity when scrolling through social media and seeing one of your friends succeed in an area that you care about. So we get curious when we feel it and we say, what thought was I just thinking that caused this feeling? The thought, she's better at this life than I'll ever be. And then we name it. This is a belief rooted in comparison and self doubt. I think I should be further along than I am. It's a story that is not serving me at all right now. So we notice that this belief stems from a fear of failure or inadequacy, but it's not grounded in truth. It's just a thought we've probably been thinking for a really long time. So now it's time to move on to step three. So here's where the magic happens. In step three, we get to ask, is this belief true? Is it really, really 100% beyond a reasonable doubt true? And most of the time, you're going to find that the answer is no. Belief feels real because it's been playing on a loop for so long that but it doesn't make it true. If you can easily identify that the answer to this, is this belief true, is no, it certainly is not, then you just are ready for step 4, and that's amazing. But if on the contrary, like a lot of people, you find yourself struggling with a no because you still have this old belief that this could be true, do not worry. You're not stuck here. The formula is still going to work. This is where some people will give up. But if you do, you're going to miss out on this incredible opportunity to dig even deeper and bust the belief. When a belief feels like it must be true, even though the physical evidence and the words you're using to tell yourself otherwise, it's sometimes tied to a very deeply rooted fear for an even bigger limiting belief hiding underneath of it. Your brain can't let you go from that original belief unless it gets to the root, which is saying something different. It's tangled up root. This is here where we're going to untangle. Think of this as just a clue leading you to the core of the real issue. It's actually a really, really good thing. So if you find yourself with a belief that feels unshakable, it might stem from something called cognitive bias. And without getting too deep into this, it's just a very fancy psychological term about the brain's tendency to seek out evidence that supports your existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are flawed. So we have this part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and that is its only job, to continue proving to you things that you want to believe and bring you evidence of that through your five senses. So science shows that the more frequently a thought is repeated, the more deeply it becomes ingrained in our neural pathways, and the more our reticular activating system, or the RAS, is going to try to gather and filter out information to prove it. But here's the good news. We also have something called neuroplasticity, and that means that our brain has the ability to rewire itself. And there's a ton of proof that over time, with curiosity and practice in this, we can change even the most entrenched beliefs, and we can train our RAS to find new evidence for the new truth that we're ready to believe. We're going to be looking for evidence in our next step. So if you do happen to get stuck with not being able to give a firm no to the is this true question, you'll have an extra step. All you have to do if you get stuck is pretend that your answer is no. Your brain won't want you to do that. It's going to resist, but if it does, just ask yourself a few more questions and then just move on to step 4 and pretend that this is just an experiment. So you can ask yourself, why do I feel so strongly that this belief must be true? And did I ever feel any different about this belief? Was there ever a time that this belief wasn't true? And then ask yourself when that was. Remember, just because you can't fully disprove the belief yet doesn't mean you won't be able to in the next step. Sometimes the breakthrough is going to come when you start to look for proof of the opposite of the limiting belief. Even finding one piece of evidence is going to begin to unravel the certainty of this limiting belief. It's like pulling a single thread from a tightly wound, tangled up knot. And the more threads you pull, the looser it's going to become until the knot is completely undone. Just because you can't say no right now doesn't mean you won't be able to. Some knots feel like they would be impossible to unknot, and we give up and we just cut through them. It's a clue. This belief is deeply rooted, and we're going to need a little more prying to dig it up, but it is going to come undone. So now we're ready to move to step 4. This is where we get to become a lawyer for your best self. I absolutely love step 4. This is where we gather evidence to prove that our limiting belief is BS. This is where we get to be right. Who doesn't love to get to be right, to win an argument and be right? This is where we start to list out all the things we know to be true. This is where we're going to begin to declare statements that are so powerful because they directly contradict the limiting belief. And the best part is they're really, really all true. There's no BS here. We're just going to drop truth bombs one at a time, going off consecutively to create so much momentum in truth that your brain can't possibly believe the absurdity of your original belief. This is where it gets super fun to be you. So here's an example. Once we've identified the limiting beliefs and explored their origins, it's time to find the proof that they're not true. We're going to build this list of what I know is statements. I call these wiki statements, WIKI, what I know is. And we're going to begin to chip away at the old belief and create that momentum toward a more empowering truth. Each wiki statement is small, but it's a meaningful step in breaking down the limiting belief. So step 1, we're going to say, for the example, we're going to go back to I'm not good enough. Step 1 was notice it. You had a feeling, that sinking feeling in your chest or that lump in your throat after hearing feedback at work. Or maybe you noticed the thought, I'm not cut out for this job. Or maybe both. Maybe you had the feeling and immediately you caught the thought. So you name it. You name that belief as I'm not good enough. And the fear is failure at this job or rejection if you don't do a good enough job. Step 3, is this true? Well, it certainly feels like it's true in that moment, but no, it's probably not true. So we're going to move to step 4 and we're going to start dropping wiki bombs on this limiting belief. Number 1, what I know is that I've received positive feedback on my work in the past. Number 2, what I know is I was hired because of my skills and experience. Number 3, what I know is that I've successfully handled challenging tasks before. Number 4, what I know is that one piece of feedback doesn't define my entire worth or ability. Number 5, what I know is if that guy had a bad day today, maybe I'm not the only one who was told something like this. What I know is I'm committed to always improving, and hearing feedback of any kind will help me do that. At number 7, what I know is I'm a valuable team member and they are lucky to have someone as dedicated as me. So do you feel how we flip the original belief of I'm not good enough into what I know is I'm a valuable team member and they're lucky to have me? Right? This is how Wiki works. Each of these wiki statements builds momentum and creates a pathway for shifting our thoughts and our beliefs. These truths, they might feel small, but they're the building blocks that pave the way to the next step, which is going to be crafting this new empowering beliefs. I'm going to do one more. Let's do another example. The limiting belief is, I've tried this before and it didn't work. Maybe you had a feeling of frustration or hopelessness when you thought about starting a new fitness routine. Maybe you were trying to go back to the gym, right? Maybe you signed up and you didn't want to go. And the thought was, I've tried this before and it didn't work. So now you go through some wiki statements. What I know is that every attempt has taught me something valuable about myself. What I know is I'm capable of making positive changes when I stay consistent. What I know is I have new tools and strategies now that I didn't have before. What I know is all setbacks are part of the process of learning and they don't mean failure. What I know is I'm committed to taking care of myself no matter how many tries it takes. So you can see when we continue to stack evidence until the limiting belief crumbles under the weight of the truth, it's going to be the most powerful thing we could ever possibly do. So now we get to move on to step 5. And this is where the magic happens. This is where transformation truly begins. When we can replace our old limiting belief with an empowering belief, you're not just rewriting your internal story, you're shifting that vibration and you're tapping into that law of vibration and law of attraction. Remember, the law of vibration teaches us that every thought, belief, and emotion carries a specific frequency. When we align with higher vibration thoughts, the ones of possibility and worthiness and hope, we become magnets for experience, opportunity, and relationships that match that frequency. The law of attraction then steps in and it starts to bring us more and more of what we're focused on. Tony Robbins says, focus goes where energy flows where focus goes. So these wiki statements, they're the building blocks of this vibrational shift of our focus. Each one's going to create a ripple effect, lifting our energy higher and higher. And when we stack one good feeling thought on top of another, we're creating this momentum. One good feeling thought becomes a magnet for another, and the next, until you've built this empowering belief that carries such an incredibly high vibration. But sometimes you might hit a roadblock with your wiki statements. Maybe in this step you feel unclear or forced when you get to these statements and you get to one and your progress slows and you feel it, and it's completely normal because shifting from these heavy ingrained beliefs stirs up a lot of resistance from our RAS. You guys, when this happens, you need a gentle and effective tool to bridge the gap and to keep the momentum alive. And this is where your newest tool, called alternative affirmations, is going to come in. It's creative and empowering statements that are designed to bypass resistance. They're designed to trick your brain into exploring new possibilities and affirm your new truths in a way that feel natural and believable. This tool is going to help you move past the stuck points with your wiki statements and keep building towards a high vibration, empowering belief. Maybe they could even start off your wiki statements if you just can't figure out one truth to start using to undo the knot of a limiting belief. So here's how it works. Traditional affirmations like I'm happy that people say, right? If you just say affirmations, you're supposed to feel better. The problem is, if you're anything like me, they're going to trigger this inner resistance where your brain is calling complete bullshit on that statement. You try to tell yourself, I'm happy, and your brain is like, yeah, no, you're not, right? If your current reality doesn't match that statement, your brain is going to fight you. But an alternative, like I love feeling happy or I'm becoming happier every day, feels much more believable because they don't demand immediate proof from your brain. They just invite possibility. There's other statements that engage curiosity, like I'm open to, or why am I so successful? These kind of statements are going to prompt your brain to get curious and search for evidence. This activates the reticular activating system, which is going to filter information from our senses to help us align with what we're focusing on. I'm open to, or why am I so successful, is going to bring us answers from our brain that we might not have ever seen before. Some of these alternatives to affirmations, like I allow or I'm becoming, can help create that bridge between where you are and where you want to be. This incremental shift is going to feel safe to your nervous system, and it's going to make it easier to adopt a new thought about it. And each time your brain successfully integrates a believable positive statement, it's going to release a hormone called dopamine. And this is a feel good hormone, a feel good neurotransmitter, a transmitter. And it's going to reinforce the habit of choosing empowering thoughts because it feels good. And it's going to make us more likely to continue the practice and to continue the process to look for more feel good statements. So, by working with your brain's natural tendencies, these alternatives are going to gently rewire those neural pathways, and they're going to create a foundation for that long lasting belief change. This is why it feels like magic, because it's really just the brilliance of your brain at work, but we can't see it. Incorporating these alternatives to affirmations into our wiki statements is going to help you get to and stay at a high vibrating positive thought. These phrases are designed to bypass that resistance and help you align with the truth. They're going to build positive momentum around new thoughts and lead to these empowering beliefs that we're trying to get to. So, I'm going to go over a few of these alternatives so that you can begin to feel which ones resonate with you most. So let's first start with I love statements. So your subconscious mind might resist I am statements, but it won't argue with I love statements. Think about I love feeling good. I love receiving money. I love feeling free. It feels so much more doable than trying to convince your mind that you do have money. You do feel good. You have um, a feeling of freedom, right? And then there's I am open to. I am open to opens the door to these new possibilities by inviting in change. I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to more abundance. I'm open to more joy. Can you feel how different this would be than saying, I have plenty of abundance? I have a life filled with joy, or I have all these new amazing ideas when you might not believe that you do? Then there's I choose statements. These empower you by reframing what you really want as something that you're choosing to have. I choose to live in a beautiful new home. I choose to feel calm and confident. I choose to create an income of $5,000 a month. Then we have I allow statements, and these can give us permission to embrace the new belief, even if it isn't true. I allow myself to have more fun on a regular basis. I allow myself to find new ways to create more finances every month. I allow myself to love more freely and kindly and patiently. So you can feel how each of these things would be when you say, I allow, and it can create that higher vibration energy around the statement. Then there's I'm becoming. These can help you focus on the progress you've made, which also makes you feel successful and remind you that you're already on your way to something that you want. I'm becoming healthier every day. I'm becoming more financially secure. I'm becoming happier and more patient every day. There's I release statements that help you let go of resistance and old belief. Maybe it's something really stuck, and we can tell ourselves, I release my fear of judgment. I release my anger towards that person. I release my fear of failure at my job. Then there's I acknowledge statements. These recognize past successes and help us build confidence, right? They help us see what we've already done. I acknowledge that I've already fulfilled my intentions in the past, and I'm doing it again now with this new intention. Things have always worked out for me in the past. Look at where I am today. I've created a good life for myself, and it just keeps getting better. These ways that we can acknowledge are going to help us build confidence. And then finally, we have something called affirmations, I like to call them. These turn affirmations into these powerful questions that engage the subconscious mind to think about how everything happens for us. And it tricks us into finding reasons why. Let's say you're struggling to feel successful and you just feel beat up and not good enough at work or at motherhood or at being a daughter or a friend or anything at all where you're feeling not good enough or like a failure. An affirmation question would help you find how it's just not true, right? So maybe you can ask yourself, why am I so successful? Or if you're unhappy, you can ask yourself, why am I so happy? Or if you're struggling with sales, you can ask yourself, how did I increase my sales so quickly and easily? And this honestly will trick your brain into finding you proof of the opposite of what you're really thinking, the opposite of your limiting belief. How am I such a good daughter? Right? Your brain's gonna think of all of the ways that you are a really good daughter. And by incorporating one or more of these kind of questions or these alternatives to affirmation statements into your wiki statements, you're going to create this high vibrational thought pattern, which is going to build positivity and energy around the new truth you're looking for until it becomes a natural belief. These can be used if you get stuck in wiki statements, if you need to start with your wiki statements and you can't figure out a single truth to prove it wrong, or if you just need a positive boost in your wiki statements to help you get to the new empowering belief. That new belief isn't just going to be this replacement thought. It's not just going to be an affirmation that we don't believe. It's going to be this powerful attractor that reflects our true self, our highest potential, and our soul's desires. I hope you can see this by these examples. This new empowering thought that we're creating with this process really does feel good. And when we hold on to this feel good belief, this new one, and let go of the old one, we're going to naturally begin to make choices, take actions, and encounter and see all these opportunities that are aligned with the life that we're meant to live. So I'm going to do an example. Let's go back to I'm not good enough. The wiki statements we did. I've received positive feedback on my work in the past. I was hired because of my skills and experience. I've successfully handled challenges and tasks before. One piece of feedback doesn't define me. And next, I'm going to add an alternative affirmation and say, I'm committed to improving and learning, which makes me a valuable team member. And so while the old belief was I'm not good enough, the truth is the new high vibrational empowering belief is I am capable, talented, and worthy of success in my job. Can you see this empowering belief vibrating at this frequency of confidence and self worth? And it's going to attract all these new opportunities if we feel good at our job that help us shine and grow in our career. Let's do another one. The limiting belief was I can't start over at my age. Well, then we go to wiki. It's a firm no, that is not true. What I know is people of all ages successfully start new careers. What I know is I have years of experience that are an asset. What I've learned is I have learned new skills before and I can do it again and again. What I know is I really have this desire to try something new and show that I am capable of growth. What I know is my age is an asset and it gives me perspective and resilience that other people don't have. And then I'm going to throw in an alternative affirmation and say, what I know is I have the ability to continue learning and growing until the day that I die. And now you have this new empowering belief. And it's my age and experience make me uniquely equipped to start and succeed in any new chapter of my life whenever I want to. Can you feel that empowering belief vibrating with optimism and resilience? It's going to attract people and resources and opportunities to help you thrive in your new chapter and help you succeed at starting over if that's what you really want. Let's do one more. The limiting belief of she's better at this than I'll ever be. Maybe it's about your sister, right? So you go to your wiki statements. What I know is everyone's journey is different and comparison does not serve me. What I know is I've accomplished things in my life that I am so proud of. What I know is her success doesn't take away from my potential. What I know is I'm capable of reaching my own goals. What I know is I'm grateful for all the progress that I have made in my life. And then you get to maybe a new empowering belief. I am on my own path. I am working towards things that matter most to me at my own pace. And I am capable of achieving success in my own unique way. And you can see how this belief vibrates with self assurance and gratitude, aligning with your own personal growth and your own unique achievements and your own path and your sister's path or your best friend's path or your friend from high school's path. They don't matter. You see how these examples work? We take this old belief and we prove it wrong. And then we add in reinforcements with alternatives and with wiki statements. And what we get is believable, high energy, empowering beliefs that we can use over and over again. And when we embrace these new empowering beliefs, we notice how our body and our mind respond. Maybe we feel lighter, stronger, more capable, or even excited about the possibilities ahead. These new beliefs are vibrating at the frequency of our truest, most authentic self, and they are pulling us towards the life that feels aligned and most fulfilling to us. And the next step, you guys, is really easy. It's just repeat the truth. We have to make these new high vibrational, empowering beliefs a reality. And we do this through repetition, and we do this in a lot of different ways. Repetition rewires our brain. So the more we see it, say it, think it, or hear it, the more we are firing our neurotransmitters to believe it. That RAS will keep finding us proof. So we're going to write our new empowering beliefs down. You have a workbook page or a worksheet that goes with this that you can fill in. And then I suggest you read it over and over again and work at saying them out loud every single day. This step is about finding ways to make your new beliefs a part of your daily routine. Do whatever it is you need to do to make sure you are affirming these new truths and are committed to believing them. Some of my clients have written them down on sticky notes and placed them around their house, maybe on the bathroom mirror, on the bedroom wall, in a picture frame on their nightstand, or even in their car. Some have used the beliefs and repeated them as a mantra during meditation or before bed, or as soon as they wake up. They commit to memory some of these beliefs and they use them on a consistent basis. Some people have even recorded themselves reading them out loud, and then they listen to it during their commute or on a walk or during their wind down time at night or even in meditation. You will feel the difference as your new truths become your default stories. I have a motto that I repeat really often to myself. It says, if I'm going to tell myself a story, I might as well make it a good one. These are those good stories. Trust that as you hold on to them, they're going to become the default beliefs that run on a regular basis like software in your brain. Your brain's going to be creating these new neural pathways, and they're going to lead you to a life that vibrates at a higher frequency and is always offering you opportunities, connections, results that you've been looking for, and proof of these new statements. And then step 7 is just test it. This is the final step in the feel good formula. It's to take these new beliefs out into the world and test them. Real life is where transformation happens. Every time you notice a situation that triggers your old belief systems, use this as an opportunity to practice. The most important part of testing it is to not get discouraged. We beat up on ourselves all the time. Here's the truth: this process is not about perfection, it's about progress. You're rewiring patterns that have likely been running your life for more than 4 decades, maybe even more for some of us. These beliefs have created deep grooves in our nervous system, and it's completely normal to feel like you're falling back into old habits at first when you try to catch them. But be patient with your brain when you catch them. It isn't a failure to have old beliefs pop up. It isn't a failure to hear things that you have heard in the past over and over. It's just neurology. Remember that your brain is designed to take the path of least resistance. That means it defaults to well worn patterns until new ones become stronger. This is habit change. Think of this as a workout for your mind. Every time you notice an old belief and redirect it to a truth, you are strengthening the muscle of the new neural pathways. And like any workout, consistency is the key to build endurance and strength. So if you feel like you missed a chance to work on a belief or you caught it too late to change your reaction to it, just take a pause and remind yourself that even noticing after the fact is progress. Remember, these were things running like software in the back of your brain that you didn't notice for years. And then just find some gratitude that what happened was happening for you. And it was just another opportunity to work on this process. You can reframe any negative thought about what you might have missed or could have done or should have done as just another limiting belief. You can tell yourself, I'm learning and growing. growing as a wiki statement. What I know is I'm learning and growing. And then you can celebrate that you are becoming more and more aware of these limiting belief systems and that soon they will not have any control over you anymore whatsoever. I am living proof. These patterns, they may feel automatic at first, but with time, you're going to start catching them faster and faster. And if a stubborn belief that you've already busted creeps in, just remind yourself of the empowering truth you've already uncovered. You don't even need to go through the whole wiki process every time the same BS pops up. You're just going to revisit the fact that you found an empowering belief you created already. And you're going to say something like, oh, hey there, BS. I've already busted you. The truth is, and you're going to insert the complete and honest truth of your empowering belief. This simple act of revisiting your truth is going to reinforce it in your mind and remind your old BS that it has no more power over you anymore. And that BS will stop. It knows it can't fool you anymore. It knows it can't bring you down. It will just go away and you will have this new untangled belief and you will have untangled from the grip of the old one and freed up all the mental real estate that it was holding hostage in your brain for you to be free. As you practice, take note of how these emotions, actions, and results shift. Celebrate every win, no matter how small. And don't forget, you are not just changing your thoughts, you are creating space for confidence, clarity, and joy in your life. So grab your workbook, choose a belief to tackle, and let's start rewriting the story. You have worksheets that show the 7 step process of the feel good formula and how to move through it. You can see just how good life really can be when you learn to look at it through this new feel good lens. Freedom begins when you release the weight of old thoughts and step into the lightness of your truth. The truth is waiting for you. And so is the life you've always been dreaming of. So get out there and do this work and start to create the new you you know you deserve.